Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And this is your opportunity to dive in, connect with some of our other members, and then ask us any questions that you have. My name is Kasim. I'm one of the founders of Nido Marketing. With me is Deneen Goncalves, who is our illustrious community manager, and also the smart one of the group, since she's the Montessorian. And then we have our very first guest speaker joining us today. This is John Moran. He's the chief strategist at Solutions 8, probably one of the smartest people I've ever known in my entire life. And he's going to talk to us today about Google Ads. John, thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is actually my first webinar. I was just telling Cosmo Denise that I've ever actually done before. So if I flounder or stutter, I apologize, but you guys get to see my very first one.
We're going to make it as hard on you as possible.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Trial by fire.
Deneen, before we started today, you said that today's going to be different than every other coaching call. And I'm so excited for that. And I want to know how and why. Did I just push on the spot?
Yeah. Well, firstly, because John's here, so that's exciting. Our first guest speaker ever. So we get to interview him, but we also get to learn, just about Google search and what that looks like. I think for a lot of our members, it's kind of a daunting thing, when we think about and how many people are on Google and how do we get Montessori schools to the front of, searches for prospective parents and mission appropriate prospective parents, which is always, a conversation that our members are having. So I'm excited to hear from you, John, and kind of give us the lowdown of how Google works. So can we start with just a general overview of how Google works? Like, let's say there's a family that is interested in a school, maybe not even a Montessori school, but just interested in a school for their, say, 3-year-old child, and they're looking in the area. How does that work if they go to Google and they're searching for that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know that a lot of people believe that Google Ads is most people don't even know that you really can advertise on it. They do a very good job at hiding the fact that the links that people can click on when they start to search for something is actually an ad. Sometimes the little green tag that says ad is so minute and so hidden that people don't even really realize it. Kind of going back from the days of SEO, and I don't mean to start way back from the beginning, but it kind of develops a narrative. SEO is search engine optimization. Everyone wanted to be first. It took a lot of time, effort, energy, money, content, thought leadership, link building, etc. On-site optimizations, perfect websites, website speed, all of the other things. And it really became a daunting task in order to get to the top, because when people knew when I'm at the top and I can be found easily, it becomes a very cohesive type of relationship with the person looking for someone and then actually finding them. Being found at the top is always been the goal of many businesses. So I'm talking about why you would want to do Google Ads. The kind of rudimentary question that I ask a lot of people when they're looking to start running on the Google Ads network is, if I could put you in front of a person looking for you, close by to you, asking, how do I find you? If I can pay a few dollars to put you right in front of that person and develop that relationship, would you do it? And most often the time the answer is yes. It's very simplistic. Now, that's the end result of what Google can, but then to dive deep into the minutia of all the different facets of Google, there's much more areas to explore that people really may not know. Google owns YouTube, which is a fairly common thing, but there's other areas inside of Google that are available to people that are just not known. Things like the display network, how you can share imagery with other people that aren't even looking for your website. There's just simply looking at other websites, you can show up and be in front of their face with a nice imagery, with a nice call to action, good information about your school, even before they start looking for you. On YouTube, it's the videos telling people that are within a 5-mile radius of your location, hey, I'm Montessori school. Here's my location. We're open. We're enrolling now, and target people that have that are currently looking for Montessori and just on a different network. That's all within Google. Other things that are coming to light too, which is like GSP, which is the Gmail ads. Those are really interesting as well. We're having good success in our initial testing, where we're able to put an email marketing ad right into the inbox of the person who has been researching Montessori schools as of lately. So when we look at,
pause you there just real quick,
yeah.
John, just out of curiosity, because I don't think we've used GSP for a Nido client yet, have we?
Not yet. We're actually still testing and so late. We're having some good results. We're about 2 months into it, but before I ever want to make a recommendation to a person that I would have to risk their ad spend, I want to be very confident about it. But we're seeing good results so far.
So just shooting from the hip, do you ever see GSP working for Nido?
I do. I think it's going to be more relevant in the next coming months because Google's what they have is called in-market audiences. And so when anybody goes to Google and they type something in, so if I'm looking for a size 10 men's boot, for example, and then I go to Payless or I go to DSW, if I start to look around for shoes, Google says this person with the ID of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is interested in shoes. And now I'm in the market actively researching or planning the purchase of a shoe. And now I'm categorized. I think that there are categories for, there's higher education, there's education segmentations. They're not Montessori specific just yet, but I do think that very soon Google will be able to tell us this person, we won't have their name, but is actually actively researching or planning possibly attending or having their child attend a Montessori location. And so I think that we can we could be the first person to make ourselves known to that individual even before they start searching for us. And within a few miles of us, within a few miles of one of our school locations.
And that happens right in Gmail. So somebody opens up their Gmail account and it's just right there.
Yeah, and it's limited, so you get about 30 characters for a subject line and then about 60 character message with a call to action. So you get 30 characters, and what we've been able to find is that when you have a very very nice call to action where it's like, find our tuition rates, for example, or schedule apply online to enroll, or now enrolling, reserve your spot. Some sort of call to action. If they're actively researching or planning it, we get to be the first location in front of them to say, hey, we're here. This is our school. You may not even known about any schools even nearby, but let us be the first to introduce ourselves. And then we get to place a small little email marketing message right at the top of their inbox.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's really cool because, there's a lot of times where people don't even really get into digital marketing because, especially if you're at an educational industry where everyone says, build your list. How many people do you have in your email list? Well, if you have, sub 30, you really can't take advantage of the traditional style digital marketing, which was email marketing. So it kind of leaps you forward all the way from the point of how do I even figure out how to build a list to now I have a list of 400 people within 5 miles of my location looking for me, and I get to just be right in their inbox. And the cost per click somewhere in 8 to 10 cents per click. It's very cost effective.
That's awesome. And I derailed Deneen from your narrative. Forgive me.
Yeah, I was going to go back to Google search, but I think Google search, when Google search, and what I mean by Google search network is having a person go to Google, type in, for example, Montessori school near me, and being the person or being the school right at the top, having that top listing or in one of those top listings is just the most organic way to pay a very small fee of $1, $2, $3 per click to be put in front of a person saying, I'd like to find someone near me, and you're targeting within 5 miles and that's near them. And hey, I'm near you. It just really develops a good set off to the right path. It's to me, obviously, since I'm in this industry so heavily, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. So John, can we talk a little bit about marketing in general? So I'm thinking about budget, right? So a lot of our schools have a limited budget. And so their marketing dollars need to go specifically to things that are going to create, the biggest bang for their buck, so to speak. So when you're looking at, a tiny budget and wanting to get more out of that, what would you recommend, or how could you make a case, I guess I could say, for Google versus doing the other stuff that we're good at, which is relationship building and, going out into the community, finding people, doing those email nurtures, helping, current families reach out to prospective families. What's the case for Google versus those other things?
I wouldn't say necessarily that it would be a versus. I think it's a complementary type of relationship. It's a mutual relationship, symbiotic relationship, if you would say. And I think that even from the Nido clients that we have now that we're working with, and the Solutions Aid and the other industries that we're in, whenever we have the most amount of success is when those two pieces of the puzzle kind of intersect, along with a nice looking website. There's really 3 big pieces of the pie. Can I find you, which is usually where Google reigns supreme. And then when I get there, do I like what I see and is it easy to use? Do I see a nice call to action? Do I know what to take the next step on? Or do I know who your imagery? And then that area which is content. Are you speaking the language that I'm expecting you to speak? I don't necessarily know if it's right or wrong, but do you seem like a thought leader? Do you seem like a school that kind of has confidence in what they speak? Because I'm not going to be going there. I'm going to be sending my child there, so I'm probably going to be even twice as critical of what I'm looking at. So all of those three pieces of the pie really have to come together very well. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a versus just yet, but it's very supplementary. Do you have good content? Do you have a nice looking website? And are you found easy? For Google specifically, I think that starting a very small segmented geography, we have a client, Arbor Montessori, they're in DC and they have a 5-mile radius, I believe, 5 to 6 mile radius in terms of their targeting. And it works very well for them because one of the things that we found is in highly dense and very, the density of the population is very high in a small amount of geography. When we can start small, you want to capture your neighbor first. If you're a school and you have a neighborhood right next to you, you want to get them first because that's going to be the highest opportunity. So with a smaller budget, you earn less clicks and less impressions, but those impressions are in your backyard. It's like if you were to stand on top of your roof and start screaming to your neighbors, we're a Montessori school, enroll today. It's essentially the same way, only the neighbors are screaming from their rooftops, where is a Montessori school I'd like to enroll today? And you just happen to be there. So I think that with a smaller budget, starting with a small geography and very what we call high commercial intent keywords like Montessori school near me, enroll Montessori near me, or those that I keep using near me, but enroll Montessori and be found in very, very close proximity. Those types of intents like best, top, local, all of those different kind of intent keywords of what do you have the intent of doing when they start to type in best Montessori school near me and you're at the top. People believe Google. So they think, well, if Google says that this is the best school and it's at the top and they're there and they're close by, that's going to be enough to earn that click and then see the nice website and then agree with the good content.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So starting local would be good for small budgets.
Right. Let's see. Can you talk a little bit about organic search versus paid search? I've heard quite a bit with some of our clients that they want to fare well in that organic search. How does organic search work versus paid? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have and I don't mean to kind of talk off of the industry, but we have one client that is extremely good with search engine optimization. They're actually in the health and supplement field. And they have hundreds of thousands of people coming to the website organically per month. When one thing that was interesting to note is that while we didn't increase the amount of traffic, we did increase the amount of traffic, but it was a very minority size. It was a 5% bump in traffic with a fairly large budget. But while we weren't bringing traffic to their website at a higher rate than they were because they were so good and they were a national and semi-global company with hundreds of thousands of people going to their website a month, what we did find is that when Google Ads, with my position, when we brought the traffic to the site, they had a 5.64% conversion rate. On organic, they had a 1.62. So 5.64 to 1.62, what we found is that I had most of the time a 4 to 5 times higher conversion rate when running Google Ads versus what they were how they were bringing them to the site, which was organically. And it's not necessarily is that the ad copy was much better or that Google Ads is just this mystical thing that brings better traffic. But what happens is when you're organic, the highest you can get on a page, if you have ads that are competing on your search engine results page, is 5. That's halfway down the page. There's 10 listings on a page. You have 4 for the first 4 are Google Ads. They're reserved for Google Ads, and then number 1 is organically is the 5th one down. Now, when you're talking about mobile, I have to scroll down past 4 of the Google search just to get down to the organic listings, and I might not even know that the first 4 are ads. So you get to be sometimes 3 positions higher on the page when you're in running Google Ads than you would organically. And when you are looking through pages or you're scrolling down a page on Google and you're looking at everyone else, you're in the researching phase most often. You're researching, you're planning. You might not be able to earn that click because SEO takes a long time to optimize for one keyword, which is the exact opposite of Google Ads. Google Ads, you can pay to be at the top for 50 keywords on day 2. So if you have the budget for it. But when you're in the organic rankings, they're still in that research and development phase, and they're looking and they're comparing and they're developing a contrast between A and B and find out which one they like. But when they're ready to go, when they're ready to convert, it happens in those first 1, 2, and 3 and 4 spots. So being up at the top just develops a person that has more of a commercial intent. So when I say, if I want to, I don't know anybody that does this and says, hey, I have a crack in my windshield, I need someone to come out and repair my windshield, I'm going to go to the 5th one on Google just because. It's usually 1, 2, 3, or 4. So that's usually where, when people are ready to go, the conversion rates are much higher running Google Ads. And instead of waiting 6 to 8 months to rank for 10 key phrases, we can rank for 30 in day 2. And it's that much faster. And you actually save money, because rather than paying a content writer to develop content, or doing on-site optimization and then waiting months of testing to see if your optimizations are good, it's just a faster network.
We have a question from one of our attendees, if y'all don't mind me interjecting. So Melissa asks, our domain is mcshammond.com. Wondering if it would be better if the domain was montessorihmd.com. Is it better to have Montessori in the domain? And this might be my favorite topic, because you can sort of go round and round with it. I think it's interesting that you have Hammond, which is geographically aligned with what it is that you're bidding on. But John, I'm gonna let you take the first crack at this, and maybe you and I can fight.
Well, with Google Ads, it actually doesn't matter, which is nice. Google Ads, we get to develop something called vanity paths, and vanity paths are the displaying of the page name in the Google ad, even if the page doesn't exist. So for example, if I was going to bid on the keyword of Montessori school near me, just using it anecdotally, and Montessori near me is a keyword that I'm bidding on, and I know that you're in a town, let's say of, I'm just going to use one, Phoenix, for example. I'm not exactly sure where you're at in the United States, but Phoenix, for example. And I would say that if I was to drive traffic to the site, the ad would look like, it would say mcshammond.com/Montessori/school-Phoenix. So that kind of near me, for example, I would see the ad to say MCS Hammond, but my path name, I can create whatever that is. Even if that page of /Montessori /Phoenix, if that doesn't exist, I can still make the ad look like that is a page that exists, thus having to kind of circumvent is this the right ad? You have a nice big Montessori school ad title. You have supplementary headlines number 2 and number 3. You have 90 characters of description number 1, another 90 characters of description number 2, structure snippets, site link extensions, call out extensions, location extensions, phone extensions, all of this stuff, and a vanity URL. You're about 1/15 of the size of that ad would be your URL. So everything else would be branded Montessori, but the URL. So if I was to say, would it be better or not? In my opinion, I don't know if I could actually see a factual data return after that URL was changed, enough to the fact that you would have to possibly go through the headache of changing around the website. That's specifically for Google Ads. Kasim, go ahead.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. I think there is a psychological impact to having what it is I'm looking for specifically inside the domain name. The interesting thing about this question is there's 2 elements to it. You have MCS Hammond, and I'm looking at the website now. They're in Hammond, Indiana. So Melissa's school is in Hammond. So that's nice, because it pre-qualifies them as geo-targeted to where I want to go. Where Montessori HMD, now you're putting Montessori in the name, and so there's a pre-qualification there, but we're kind of losing Hammond a little bit. I guess they'll recognize HMD the way Phoenicians will recognize PHX. For PPC, I totally agree. For SEO, what's interesting about it is it actually doesn't matter anymore either. Google killed what's called EMD. It was exact match domain in 14. Do you remember when that was?
Yeah, it's probably 14, maybe even before that.
It was like 2013, 2014. It was one of the original Panda updates. So it used to help you, Melissa, to have, if you're trying to optimize for the term Montessori, it would help you to have the term Montessori in your domain name. And Google got rid of that with a vengeance. They wiped everybody's domain authority based off of any matching inside the domain name. And they did it because there's only so many domain names you can buy that have the word Montessori before you've kind of saturated the market. And they realized that they were giving preferential treatment to people based not on value, but on, who's willing to spend the most on a domain name. So I'm going to align with John here perfectly. I don't think it makes enough of a difference for you to spend any time switching from one to the other. I think what you have now is good. And if your site's on there, that means you're already building domain authority. And there's probably other things that are better worth your time.
Well, that's
but
funny.
Thanks for the great question.
Yeah, and I think that that's something too. Like if you always think about like the use case I usually give people when we talk about this is it's the reason why Uber, which is German for the word over, ranks number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for car service. Is just because Uber doesn't really matter anymore. It's who they are now. So I think the domain name, yeah, I agree. I don't think it's worth necessarily the headache, especially if you want to run Google Ads. It really, to a person like me, doesn't bother me at all. Unless your website was something like, dogs for sale in your Montessori school, that might have a problem.
Thanks for that, John. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the organic listing? And I ask this because I imagine a school, that has a tiny marketing budget is hearing you say, in an organic search, you're really likely to come up 4 or 5 spots down, which is kind of defeating in itself, if you want to go through that. So let's say this school is saying, all right, I know and I hear the case to spend some money in Google Ads. I've got a tiny budget, and I'm the only person in the marketing department, and I also run my school. What would be your best advice to that person when they say, okay, I've got a small budget, I know I need to do paid advertising on Google. How can I use my funds in the best way possible, going from there?
Yeah. So if we're talking about using the best way to use the funds on Google Ads, is that the question?
Yeah, because if you're doing that for the first time, you don't understand how Google Ads work, but you really know that it's important, and so here's a little bit of money. I'm moving forward with this, say $200 a month ad spend, or even $100 a month, and I want to do some Google Ads. What's the best way to use that moving forward?
Yeah, I would say for a $200 a month budget, I'm going to stick with exact match key phrases, and I'm going to stick with probably sub 10, sub 15 amount of key phrases. And what exact match means is in Google Ads, I get to bid on different ways that people search. So for example, if I want to have the keyword Montessori school broad match, what that means is anybody that types in anything to Google along with the words Montessori and school, not even in that order, not even connected to each other, I can have my ad show up.
So if they typed in why I shouldn't go to a Montessori school, then you're going to pay for that.
Yeah, like I went to school, but it wasn't Montessori. I would show up for that. Like that would be something. So those are more exploratory type key phrases. When you have the budget to spend and learn about all the different ways that people are searching for Montessori schools, you have the budget to support that. Now, I'd probably do more what we call phrase match or exact match. And what phrase match means, if I type in phrase match Montessori school in my keyword bidding, I type in quote, Montessori school, end quote. And what that means is they have to type in Montessori school next to each other. They can have things before, they can have things after, they can't have anything in between, and they have to be Montessori and school. The first word Montessori, second word school. And what I want to bid on more of a phrase match, or even what exact match is Montessori school. It cannot have any other words. It has to be in that order. Can't have anything in front of it, behind it, in between it. It has to be just 2 words, Montessori school. I'll probably want to bid on Montessori school near me, top Montessori school, top Montessori location, Montessori curriculum. If I'm saying I need to find a Montessori school that is very close to me now, I will bid on those type of keywords and only those type of keywords. Now you're going to have a lot less search volume, but those search volume are going to be exact. Now the issue that comes with that though is if there's one way that we didn't think about in a certain geographical region or certain area or whatever it is, there might be people that are searching for best local Montessori school, and that's the best keyword that usually converts 40% of the time. I would miss it because I couldn't learn that I couldn't find out what else. But if I had a $200 budget, I would say I want to go with what I know will work, and we have crowdsourced data from a lot of campaigns that are currently going right now. I can research and within about 2 to 3 hours come up with the top 10 that I would like to use that according across the entire United States usually works very well, and bid on those. So it would have to be very, very honed in centric. Unless you're typing in this, I don't want to show up and waste the ad spend.
What would your geo target be for that, John? How far would your radius be for $200?
Rural 13 miles, urban 5.
Okay.
Unless it's like wide open cornfields, and we might start to 25, 30. But at that point, that's more minority of the time what happens.
We've told our current Nido clients that we can't we can't work with fourth plane members unless they're willing to spend $1,000, which is really cost prohibitive for schools, right? Deneen, like what percentage of schools do you think can do that? Of all the Montessori schools, you know?
Well, it kind of depends, right? It depends on their internal structure. And also if they understand that when you put that amount in it, you get so much more back.
Right.
And maybe Qasim, you can speak to this, how that golden ratio works. And, when you're bringing tours in and you're eventually converting them to enrollments, I mean, that's invaluable. So not looking at that money just as a $1,000 ad spend, but also looking at it as an investment to growing your school.
You're absolutely right. What's interesting about it is the very first student that you get, let's assume that your tuition is $1,000 a month, which might be a little high. I think the average that I've seen hovers anywhere between the $800 and $900 range, but just using easy math, the first time a student enrolls, that student just paid for your advertising for the remainder of the year. And the next student that enrolls is all profit, over and above, obviously, the fact that we have costs associated with each of those students. The reason we're at $1,000 a month, and John's going to be better equipped to speak to this than I am, is because it seems to take about that much before we can really make it work at scale. There's some campaigns that were successful at 500, but it was so razor thin that we just made the decision internally. We don't want to gamble with people's money if we're not putting our best foot forward. And it takes about $1,000 a month for us to really do that. John, can we justify why? Is that an easy thing to explain?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a area, and I kind of wanted to see if I could share my screen, but it's not working for me for some reason. There's a place called search attribution inside of measurement in Google Ads. What search attribution does is it attributes the searches to what has happened. And what that means is that I look at things like top conversion path, path length, and what was the exact path, and was there a cross device conversion path that took place. So a lot of times what we'll find out, and this is true in every single campaign, is it's longer than a 1-day conversion, all the way up to what I can see is where it ends is day 12 plus conversion. And what that means is that when you click on an ad, it can take anywhere between 1 day, and I think the highest one that we have is 28.85, between 1 day and 28 days for that person to actually convert. And sometimes they click multiple times.
Fill out a form.
Call you, fill out a form, apply online, schedule a tour, whatever it may be. It takes that long before you spend the money versus when you actually see it come back. And what we found is that when you have $1,000 spend, it compounds over time. Because my first 1,000, I'm generating the interest. I'm getting the brand recognition, the brand name is out there. I'm making a big impact in a very small community. Well, if you go to anything that you do in sort of marketing, never has that instant return. It always is, I heard about it, I thought about it, I talked about it, I researched it, I looked at the website, and yes, I'm going to do it. I talked to my husband or my wife or my significant other. I've talked to my kids, they're excited about it. There's that 28-day, up to 28-day time where that conversion, that contact will take place. So with a smaller budget, we get that less impact, that has that less amount of return to come back. And it's so small to the point where being, we're all on this call, we're high integrity marketers. We never want to say, give us $300 and, oh, it wasn't enough money, it didn't really work. Sorry, too bad, so sad. We want to make sure that we can prove our value. And so with the area where we can find that we can prove that value, where we can actually make an impact and change schools' lives, is when we can spend $1,000. And that means that I'm hitting now, let's say, for example, $1 per click. Now I have 1,000 people in a 10-mile radius, and they've been to the website. Now, not all 1,000 of them are going to convert, but now I know all 1,000 within a very short radius have been to my website. And then somewhere between 1 and 28 days later, I can see exactly, did they come back? Did they search something else? Did they search my brand name? I actually have a use case that I would like to share. And maybe I can take a screenshot of it. Actually, while we're on the call, if you guys don't mind. Can you guys still see me?
Yep.
I'm going to see if I can actually just post a screenshot link. I've never done this on Easy Webinar since it is my first webinar. I want to kind of see exactly.
While you're doing that, John, I'm going to read another question from Melissa. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
I don't want you to lose your thought, but I thought I'd fill in the.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I'm gonna develop this case right here because I think that this is really the answer to a lot of the questions that everyone has, and I'm actually grabbing it right now.
Melissa asked, we used to use Dex, just recently let them go. When we did our website and decided to do a marketing campaign in-house, and wanted to spend $500 on Google and $500 on Facebook, should we put more towards Google than Facebook? Melissa, you're asking just amazing questions, by the way. Thank you so much for those. So, John, I'm going to let that sit. I think finish your thought and then maybe roll that in if you don't mind.
Yeah, I actually just chatted it to everyone. You should be able to see the screenshot there. But what this screenshot will share is this is what we have for what we call top paths. And you can see that of the last 4 conversions, if you look at the number 2 down, they researched the first keyword was Montessori school. And then they came back and typed in Acton Academy. And this is for our client Acton. I know I keep using them as an example. I just had them up and ready to share. And if you look at the third one down, you see Montessori school. They had to search it twice. So they actually been to the website twice before they converted. And so what that means is sometimes it takes multiple clicks in order for someone to convert. And each time they click, they're actually clicking on that ad themselves. And so if we have a $200 budget,
I'm sharing what it is that you sent me, John, just so because I want it to make it for the recording too, not just the live listeners.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought I was doing that. Okay, so yeah, you see the first one, they had to research Acton Academy twice because they were searching a brand name. The second one down, they searched Montessori school. They saw the Google ad. They clicked on it. They went to the website. They didn't convert. They left. Sometime later, they came back to Google, typed in Acton Academy because they remember going to that website, clicked on it again, and then you see a conversion up to the right. The third one is they click on Montessori school. They typed in Montessori school to Google. They clicked on the ad. They went to the website. They didn't convert. They didn't call us. Didn't do anything. They left. Sometime later, they typed it in again, clicked on the same ad or a different ad, came back to the website and subsequently converted. So sometimes what's bad is that if it is a $2, $3, $4 cost per click, and it takes 2-3 clicks to convert, now you have a $12 to $13 conversion, which is still inexpensive to spend $13 and get someone to say, hey, I'd like to tour your school, which is fine. But having that limited budget, I might not be able to bring those people back. And it's really, really detrimental to a campaign if I can't take a person that's been to my website and say, hey, come back when you're ready, and I just can't get them back. So,
yeah, you'll burn through $200 pretty quickly.
Right.
Melissa's question. They fired Dex. She's got $500 for Google, $500 for Facebook. Do you take all of that and throw it at Google?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I would still organically post on Facebook because your organic reach is still going to be good for the interested party. Facebook for immediate return on investment, if you only have the $500, I would put it towards Google because that's what's going to allow you to take the new signups that you have, the new enrollments, and the new kind of revenue that's been generated from the fees from the campaign as fees in to market yourself more on a brand awareness of Facebook. I always say that there's 2 networks. Facebook is a push network. Google is the pull network. Facebook, I want to tell people where I am, and I can broadcast that very, very easily in a small geography. Google is going to say when they're ready to come and visit my location, I will pull them in from Google. Right now, pretty much across the United States, there are people looking for Montessori schools in Google all the time. I mean, we proved it with every single campaign. There are people that are ready to say, I want to find a Montessori school near me. Where are you? I would like to capture those people first. Now, once you hit that saturation point where you're like, hey, I've maxed out my campaign. I have all these people signed up. I can't grow any further. Now we still got to start generating interest. Now let's move over towards Facebook and generate the interest and generate the awareness. Hey, we're here. Did you know about us? It's a little bit slower of a connection because they're not ready to search for you yet. That's why they're on Facebook and not necessarily searching for you. But you can publish things like your pictures, your videos of kids, having fun and learning and in a great healthy environment. And then you can really start to develop that awareness. And then what's interesting is a lot of times when we start to see more amounts of marketing on Facebook, the search traffic goes up, especially for the brand name. And they're like, well, how did you find out about us? Well, I saw you on Facebook, so I just Googled your name and then I found you. Or I Googled Montessori school because I forgot who it was, but I was interested in Montessori and I found you. So that's what's really interesting is I would start capturing the people looking to do business with you first. And then once you've saturated that, then start to generate more awareness on Facebook so that more people come back and want to do business with you.
How was that for an answer, Melissa? She says, great insight. Thank you. Awesome
Hey,
question.
I'm doing my first one. That was a great question. Yeah, my first podcast. Thank you, Melissa. You're my first question.
So, John, I know we're running out of time here a little bit, but I have one last question for you, just to consider all of this. And thank you, by the way, for giving us all this really great insight.
Absolutely.
What are the benefits of having a partner in your advertising group? So someone like Nido, being a partner in your Google ads and your Facebook ads and kind of helping your marketing strategies. What's the benefit of
Man,
And maybe especially someone who knows Montessori well. There's a lot of marketing companies out there, but having Montessori is very unique in education space. So what are the benefits of having somebody that knows Montessori well, but also can support you in your ad spend?
Without sounding arrogant, and I hope this doesn't come off as arrogant, but you could not find an individual that has more experience in not only just digital marketing, like being a top Google partner, but also that has done this for Montessori schools for the price that what Nido would charge. And I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but that's really what it kind of boils down to. And what I think that really develops is we've dedicated hundreds and now thousands of hours of developing the best campaign that we possibly can have and bring it to the audience at, and I think we just had a price reduction recently too, the lowest possible price that we could possibly afford to make sure that we can get it to everyone that we can. And it just seems to be that there's no other way to get the manpower into a ecosystem and focus it on what we've been focusing on it and find that anywhere else. And I really think so. Well, there's something, Ryan Dice is a person that we like to follow, a digital marketer, and then he tells a small short story where he was at his dentist and his dentist was working on his teeth and looks up and says, "Oh, you're Ryan Dice." He's like, "Yeah," and you're trying to have a conversation with him with tools in his mouth. And afterward, what he was saying, he's like, I'm glad that you found out about me, but don't do your marketing yourself. You focus on teeth, I'll focus on marketing. And so it was a really kind of funny eye opener where the schools that might need to do it themselves, for even if they had to hire another resource or take training and pay it online to try to find it, to do it themselves, or which obviously Nido offers, but you're not going to find that what Nido has done. So I think that it's really the only option if you're looking to get into digital marketing for the Montessori space. It's a no-brainer. Honestly, there's nothing like it now that has dedicated itself to this niche so passionately and then has had such great success that we know your school, I just fill out this onboarding form and we know exactly what to do from here. I mean, it's just, you can't find that anywhere else.
Right.
Hopefully that wasn't too arrogant. I just really believe that.
Now you're honest.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Awesome. Qasim, any last thoughts before we finish up?
No, I love that we have a guest speaker though. John, thanks for being our first guest speaker.
Thank you for being my first podcast.
Yeah, being our first guinea pig. And to our members, I wanted to reiterate some of what we're doing right now. We've revamped the coaching calls because last year we went over Matt's Montessori marketing method and we exhausted that topic, I think, in a really good way. And that's all online. You can watch it if you're a part of the members area. This year, we really want to bring sort of an amalgam of content to you. And so we're doing different topics. Matt's going to start doing an Ask Me Anything. Deneen has a really amazing topic that I'm very fond of on Montessori communication. I'm doing sort of a tech corner and just helping people with tech questions, marketing questions, whatever. And then once a month, we're going to try to have a really solid guest speaker. And John's a good example. He's one of the best minds in the space of Google advertising. And we're going to bring in more people just like that. We'd like to bring in some Montessori thought leaders. We've already sort of kicked around a few ideas. If you have any recommendations for us, please don't hesitate to reach out at all and let us know who you want us to sort of try to poach. But otherwise, we'd love to see you joining us live, just like Melissa did today. I think you'll get a lot out of it. I mean, she was able to ask really specific questions about our school, and we were able to provide, I think, a lot of value. So if you can join us live, we'd love to have you. It's 10:30 a.m. Pacific every Thursday. That's 1:30 p.m. Eastern for my East Coasters. But if you can't catch us live, it's no big deal. This goes up on YouTube. It goes in our members area. And so these resources are available to you forever. And other than that, that's all I got. How do you think we did, guys?
That was fun. Thank you. That was awesome. I like that. Hopefully I can, put on those glasses with the big nose and the mustache and come back again as someone else. This was a lot of fun.
There you go. You're welcome anytime.
This was great.
Awesome. Well, this was a good talk.
All right.
I mean, thanks for keeping us aligned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. This was excellent.
All righty, y'all.
Enjoy your day. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.